Okay, this is going to be a weekly recap from the 19th of September to the 23rd. And this is actually my first red week in a very long time. It's been, I guess since June's, since I had a red week, and it's fine. It was a small amount, and it was a lot of good attempts. And from what it seems like, you can see this red mark right here. It seems like I just tried a lot of setups that did not work out. That's essentially what the first score is. Did the setup work out or not? And I had a bunch of no's. Only three of them worked out. And yeah, 12 trades, six of them were profitable, 50% winning percentage rate. I don't like this. I don't like how, yeah, just about 25% of my trades were according to my $40 risk level. It almost makes me not want to size up, although this one in particular I actually had a little more size than I was supposed to. But yeah, just 12 trades, and one of them was just a practice trade. I traded a $10 position. It wasn't anything huge. My average percent gain was a little less than my average percent loss, and that's the same for my average dollar gain and average dollar loss. But it seems like I traded around the same size, so it wasn't like I was putting more money on the setup that doesn't work out. It just seems like a lot of these things didn't really offer a bounce, and I look forward to going over these trades one by one, especially since I am at that point again where I don't really remember the trades until I start to go over it. And yeah, let's do that. Let's start with the first trade, which is ILUS on the 19th, which is already here. The 19th is going to be this day. And this was essentially just a stock that was continuously doing this uptrend over a longer period of time for ideal maybe break past the 12-cent level for a nice multi-day breakout range. And the 19th is going to be way back here, the first day. I was in at 931 at 11.9, and this was a morning resistance breakout round number. Let's zoom in. Was in right here at 11.9. I was in it right here. Why was I in it? Well, again, the idea was that this thing was kind of looking like an ascending triangle, and it was going to ideally break past the 12-cent level the next day, which it did do. As you can see, I got the 12.83, and I was in at 9.31 because we were just under that 12-cent breakout level, and we had a little bit of a downtrend, and it was trading back and forth these first 2 minutes, and it just seems like it was going to do it right then and there and make a move towards the upside and ideally be a nice morning spike. I got out 933 at 1205. Right here, 1205 is when I got out. I got out right here and I got in right here at 11.9. And let's just take a quick look at the notes. It just seems like it broke past 12 cents and it were just too many sellers at the ask and I got out. And yeah, it didn't do very much. It downtrended, but it eventually held VWAP a lot better. No more dips under VWAP, and then it broke past it with this one big volume candle right here. And at that point, it went from 12 to 12.8, which is nice. Not the best in terms of percent range. I guess maybe a 6% gain the entire thing here, but this was a very predictable setup. I just wasn't watching it at this point, and it would have been hard even if I was to just see it break past 12 with this big volume candle, and maybe I wouldn't even have been in it. But I'm sure there was price action showing that it was going to do something like that, maybe like a big bidder showing up, and then it breaks, takes out the ask. Good trade, good attempt right there. Let's look at TGGI for the 20th. 20th is going to be right here. Okay, so it had a bit of an option previously and it's been selling off, and I'm guessing that I try to dip buy it one of these days, maybe right in the morning. That's about there. I was in at 937 at 1175 morning panic bounce play. I'll zoom in some more. 937 was right here and 1175. So I was in it roughly right here at 937. Why? Morning panic bounce play. It's been selling off, lots of volume, especially here at 935. So ideally, you know, this big volume candle means a lot of the sellers got wiped out. And now I can ideally try to bounce. I'm in it right here at 11.75, and I got out on my last piece at 9.45, and my average was 11.81. So 9.45. Oh yeah, this one sucked. 11, yeah, right here. I got out right here. Essentially, it just took way too freaking long for this one to bounce, and there were hidden sellers at this 11.9 level, and then it looked like it was starting to get bigger, and you can see how it was trying to hold this 11.85 level, and then once we were starting the downtrend and take out the people at the bid at 11.8, it just looked really ugly, and then somebody jumped in and saved it and brought it up to 12.5 or 12.7 if you want to count this. That was a super duper lame move. Really annoyed me that I was just, 1 minute before uptrending. But let's just see what a sell at 1.22 would have been, just out of curiosity. Yeah, that would have been fine. I still would have had a red week, but yeah, that one just really stunk the way I just got out the last minute before I turned around. Now let's look at one that did do better. Let's look at HMBL on the 20th. 20th is going to be right here. Not like TGGI, but it is downtrending and there is a lot of volume. So not necessarily the same daily chart, but it is the same pattern. Right at the market open is when I traded it. Just keep a note that it did get way higher later in the day, but this was nothing that I would have considered. I thought this was pretty impressive though once it started to really break past VWAP and hold above it, and then it started to uptrend. I was in at 959, 272. 959 was right here at 272. So I got in it right here. And why? Well, it is a morning panic bounce play, but this one clearly took its time and traded a bit slower. And I do like how I can draw a trend line showing this overall downtrending price action. And yeah, just kind of try to catch the trend line again right here, and then it started to gain distance. One more dip, now significantly far away from the trend line, and then a little baby bounce and downtrends, and then I'm in it right here. It just seems like there was a potential change in momentum, and that's why I got in it right there at 272. I did get out 10.09 at 2798, so 10.09 was right here when I got out of my last piece, and my average was 2798. So I essentially got out right here, averaged out. So I didn't sell everything here, but in pieces. And I think it was because of the fact that I sold the remaining shares at VWAP, which was 284. And that's always my goal, to sell at VWAP, especially on a setup like this. And it did do the uptrend, and this one was profitable. The only problem was is that maybe I needed to have had more size, so maybe 6,000 shares would have brought it closer to a $10 risk level. And the way this one traded, this could have been something that in the future, God willing, I can trade, 50,000 or, 500,000 shares. I think the volume might be able to support something like that. But I've seen this pattern a lot of times, and this was one that worked out much better than TGGI, of course. Let's look at TXTM on the 21st. I'll do it from here actually. 21st, right around here. So you saw how it had previously an uptrend and a downtrend, and now it's continuously uptrending, and now it's getting a bit more aggressive. You can see they're not just like little green candles, but they're much bigger, and the volume is there to support it. So this was like an uptrending stock setup. I was in at 932 at sub penny 91. Morning range breakout spike. So 932. I guess I'll zoom in a bit more. 932 was right here, and I got in at 91. Very similar to the other one I traded in the morning. And the idea was is that again, it's continuously uptrending. This could be another green day, trading back and forth. Got above VWAP. 91 is a resistance label, not label, but level. And I got in it right when it looked like it was going to break this 91 level. I got out the next minute at 9:33 at 93. Right here is when I got out at 93. Let me make sure. I think it was 92 and a half. Yeah, it was 92 and a half at 9:33. So essentially, I guess I was just chicken, perhaps, just shot up and it, was something I just quickly sold into. I didn't trade this one the best that I could have because I think I sold everything in that bounce. What I should have done was just follow this trend line, and maybe I could have sold a portion of my position at this 92.5 level. And then once it broke the trend line officially here, I could have sold everything else, and maybe that would have been the same as what I actually sold it at right now in this trade. But if this thing were to have continued the trend line and maybe it got to a penny, I would have been super salty that I just sold everything the next minute and not followed a line that would have allowed me to have been more profitable, especially since this week seems to show that there were not a lot of setups that worked out. Let's look at ILUS on the 21st. 21st is going to be right here. Yeah, so the whole breakout thing above 12 didn't work out at this point, and now I was probably considering a dip buy setup, especially because of how big the candle was. The volume isn't really that big though, but it is again much more than what it was trading previously, and that is, yep, the 22nd. Actually, no, the 21st. Let's highlight this day right here. And I was in at 953, 93.1, reversal long. This is my least profitable setup. When I just look at some stock and for some reason I think it's just going to turn around from downtrending to uptrending, probably, excuse me, I probably need to stay away from this. Let's look at this 953 at 93.1, 953 right here at 931. Yeah, so kind of a bit of a, cheesy setup where it looks a little bit like HMBL, and I'm in it because it looks like it might try to turn around. Not as nice as HMBL, the way HMBL was showing that it was, slowly uptrending. This one was just kind of like a curving price action, not the best. I got out at 956 at 925, so 956 was right here at 925. I got out right here. I think I got out of this one because I saw a big 3 million share seller show up at the ask, and that's always like a huge red flag. I got out of it, and this one downtrended really hard, and it actually got to my worst case scenario level. If I were to have sold at 85, which was the bottom of that, right, I would have lost, close to my worst case scenario. The reason why it's not the same as this one is probably because the top of my limit was at 935, so I got in a bit lower than my limit, and that's why, it didn't equate to $38. But yeah, this setup actually did not work out at all. Let's look at GTII on the 22nd. 22nd is going to be right here. Very sketchy stock, but it has a lot of volume. Broke past this 95-cent resistance level in the tippy top. Multiple breakout levels over 95, $1, and then the top here. Let's go ahead and highlight the 22nd. I was in at 949, 149.5, and this was a bull flag setup. I guess I'll zoom in a bit more. 949 was right here at 145.5. So I got in right here. And why did I get in it? Well, super nice spike from the 94-cent level as high as $1.78. Super profitable. And then once it had a downtrend, I thought it was going to be like a bull flag, and it would like downtrend, find a support level, hold, and then reverse and uptrend, and maybe that can be something nice to sell into. Best case scenario, breaks the high and then it continues to run. I got out the next minute, 950 at 140. So this one clearly did not work out at 140. And I thought it was going to turn around because it was looking like it was breaking under the 150 level, and then it was just going to briefly break under it, hold it. I'm in at 149, and then it continues to do it. When they had this wiki, ugly thing right here, and it started getting to VWAP looking like it was going to break under it, I got out of my position at 140, and that was just an L. That was a good attempt, and maybe I might try to consider both flag setups less because I tried it Again, right here, and this one didn't work out. This one was a lot more painful. I tried again at 953, 144 and a half. So 953 was right here, and I got in at 144 and a half. Same setup, just thinking that maybe it's going to do it at this point, and I just got wicked out, which is unfortunate. I got out at 955 at 130 and a half right here. Very ugly stock, very ugly price action. The biggest red candle this thing had the entire day. And unfortunately, I could have cut it and maybe have gotten out in like the 136s or something like that. But I thought there was a chance that I was just going to be in a wick again, where I was in the setup here and I got out at 140. And then the next few candles I could have sold much higher and I could have been able to have lost less money. So that's why I gave it a bit of a chance when it broke under VWAP, thinking it might try to do another wiki thing. But once it looked like it was actually going to continue the downtrend, I did get out at 130 and a half, and that was good because I mean it did bounce back, but never to that price I got. My shares ultimately sold at, and it downtrended some more. Really crappy, just really, just like this is a legit pump and dump looking pattern, and it was just all in one day right here. A lot of bag holders, unfortunately, are still stuck in this setup because they don't know when to cut their trade. Let's look at the next GTII trade. No longer a bull flag, but now this was just me thinking it was going to do a reversal. I was in at 10.12 at 12 and a half. 10.12 was right here, and I got in at 12 and a half. Right here, 112 and a half. Yeah, I guess it makes sense. Maybe I could draw like a trend line. It's going to be hard for me to really just remember why I might have had something like this. But it does perhaps make sense how it had this downtrending trend line, broke past it, and then it had one more downtrend, no longer following this trend line, right? So that was a reversal idea that I had. And this one worked out. This one was more solid. It had a trend line and then like a break past it, a downtrend that didn't get back to it. A lot better. I got out at 10.13, 18 and a half. 10.13 was right here. 18 and a half is when I got out. I could have sold in the 120s, but essentially I was very cautious with this stock, and the moment it was showing just a little bit of a sign that it was going to maybe come back down, I got out, and perhaps I could have had a trend line right here that could have helped me maybe hold on to the position better, maybe something like this, and then I would have cut it right here, but I would have given it the opportunity to have uptrended more if it was able to, like getting the VWAP, and then I would have sold for more. Just didn't really work out that much there, but I guess that was a reversal long setup that did play in favor. Let's look at IND for the last day on the 23rd. 23rd is going to be right here. Just something that had an uptrend and is downtrending, and very similar to HMBL. Now it's downtrending more and it has more volume. Let's look at the 23rd. Looks like a scary looking downtrend, but it did reverse eventually. I was in at 9.35, exactly at 11, and this was a morning panic bounce play, so I'll zoom in a bit more. 9.35 was right here. I got in there right here at 11. I guess thinking that, it had the morning panic bounce plays, trading back and forth, trying to hold 11. And I'm in at 9.35. Right? Was it 9.35? Yeah, right at that 11 level, right in the beginning of 9.35. Clearly, it broke under it and then some more below the day low, which was 10.8. I got out the same minutes at 10.8. So essentially, I was in it because I thought I was going to hold that 11 level. And then once it was looking like it was going to break the day low, which was 10.8, I got out instantly. And that was a good call because it clearly made a move much lower. And yeah, that was just a setup that didn't work out. I was in and out of this setup for 12 seconds. So that shows just how much price change can really influence you know, a decision to sell, especially if maybe I saw something really bad show up in the level two. Was looking at my second try with IND. Same setup at 937. I was in at 10.7. So 937, 10.7. Right here is when I got in, and I guess the idea was is that I thought it was going to maybe hold a bit higher. Maybe I just thought it broke under 11. And now at this point, you know, it was just a quick downtrend under 11 and now a bounce back, and I'm in it right here on this wick. Clearly didn't work out, but it did hold over the 10 level, or I guess if you want to be specific, this, you know, 1 cent level. And it did turn around eventually, but man, this thing offered a horrible bounce for what it was. I got out the same minute at 10.4. And why did I get out of it at 10.4? I think in this one and the previous one, there was also a very large seller that appeared at the ask. And again, that's always a reason why I'm going to get out of the trade. And as you can see, I got better with this last one right here. I no longer lost as much money. I traded a lot more cautiously. Another morning panic bounce play attempt. I was in at 9.56, 10.6. So I guess not really much of a morning panic bounce play anymore. Perhaps. I mean, this was a bit of a slower one, but I got in it right here, 15,000 shares, because it was finally breaking above this 10.5 level, and I'm in at 10.6, and ideally it breaks above VWAP and continues the uptrend and have a nice spike to sell into. I was out at 9.57 at 10.5 and a half, so right here at 57, 10.5 and a half. It just didn't work out. Essentially, once it got to the 10.6 level for the first time, and we had support at 10.5, when it looked like the 10.5 support was going to get taken out, I got out of it quickly. Somebody rang the door. I'll be back. Okay, let me try to finish this first and get to the point before I ultimately forget everything. But yeah, that was a setup right here. It just didn't work out. It did get under the level, and it did take a longer period of time, but it was eventually able to break past the 10.5 level and then this VWAP level. And I mean, 11.5, it just didn't really do much. Last trade, reversal long. So again, the thing that I had in mind with this one was that it's either going to uptrend after having this sell off with volume, or it's going to break under the day low. But because I was thrown off trading it a bunch of times and none of them really worked out that nicely, I traded just a $10 position. I got in at 10.10 at 10.06, so that was right here at 10.06 at 10.10. And again, it's either going to break the day low or, you know, offer some kind of a bounce. And I mean, it got to 11.5, but it was ugly. I got out at 10.44, at 10.7, and it was just at the point where I wasn't really looking at the setup as much, even though I was in a tiny position. I wasn't like taking it seriously, like if it was a real trade with real size. So I did cut it, but it did get to 11.5, and this is something that I could try to get better at, where I just think big picture. You know, it's gonna try to hold the 1 cent level, and it's going to break under it if it fails, or it's going to bounce after having this double day sell off with volume. And it did bounce. Let's see what it would have been like if maybe on that other trade I got out at 11.5, which was best case scenario. Yeah, it would have made a green week and all, but I mean, it was still ugly. And you know, not much room either to just, you know, best case scenario, just get a, you know, super small 8% move. So that's pretty much it for this week. I think I did things well for the most part. Maybe I can think big picture when it comes to stuff like this. How, you know, I kind of got burnt a few times trying to call the bottom, but once it, you know, had an ideal or at least in theory bottom, especially with a lot of volume here, holding a round number of 1 cent, that's something where I can trade a large amount of size. Maybe something even crazier like, I don't know, right, 300,000. That's not 300,000. 300,000 shares, and would have lost just 15 bucks, but you know, maybe a sell at 11.5. That would have been kind of cool. So Yeah, and this one did offer the volume to support something like that. That's it for today. That's it for the weekly recap. Lots of good lessons there. Yeah, a lot of good lessons and a lot of things that I need to keep improving on.